In Africa, we say the sky never forgets what the heart hides. And when betrayal bleeds from friendship, even the wind begins to whisper. This is not just another story. This is a warning from the spirits. A tale of two friends, bound by love and torn apart by silence. One broke trust. The other broke mercy. But when the eagle of justice spread its wings, no one could escape its shadow. From Lagos to Ibadan, down to the rivers of Port Harcourt, the heavens watched, the earth listened, and the river carried away what words could not. My people, sit well and listen, because what happened to them could happen to any heart that hides truth too long. Welcome to Emmy Stories, where every story carries a soul, and every soul carries a lesson. Get out of my house. The scream cracked the quiet evening like thunder slamming against metal. Pots rattled, and neighbors peered through half-open windows as the words flew across the compound in Surulere, Lagos. The orange evening sun bathed the small yard in a dim, dusty glow, revealing two women standing face to face. Once sisters in all but blood, now enemies carved apart by secrets. One of them, tall and dark-skinned, stood trembling in her own doorway. Her wrapper had come loose from her waist in her rage, her eyes blazing like firewood burning in a night kitchen. The other woman stood a few steps away, clutching a nylon bag stuffed with hurriedly packed clothes. Her eyes were swollen from crying, and her lip trembled as she tried to speak. "I didn't mean for it to happen," she whispered, her voice barely finding air. "Please, just listen." "Listen?" the taller woman roared. "Listen to what, Anita? To more lies? To more of your pity voice? You think I don't know what you did." The compound's main gate creaked. A few neighbors, unable to resist the noise, had already gathered, women with basins still tied to their heads, a man with soap foam on his chin, paused his bath to see the drama unfold. Lagos life had taught them that every noise carried a story, and this one was already juicy. "You betrayed me, Anita," the woman screamed again, tears burning down her cheeks. "After everything I did for you. You wore my clothes, you ate my food, you stayed under my roof, and you opened your legs to the man I called mine." Anita's knees buckled. She fell to the ground, clutching her bag. "It was a mistake, Beezy. I swear on my mother's grave, I didn't mean for it to happen." Beezy's chest rose and fell like a drum beat. "A mistake," she spat. "You think lying on my bed with him was a mistake? You think sending me fake messages pretending he didn't care anymore was a mistake?" Her voice cracked. "You destroyed me. You destroyed my home." The crowd murmured. A woman in a green scarf hissed loudly. Friend way go sleep with her friend's man. Nah, curse be that one." Anita's tears soaked the ground. "I've been trying to tell you. He came to me drunk that night. I didn't even—" Beezy raised her hand. "Don't you dare say his name. You're filth. You're nothing. Get out of my sight before I pour hot water on you." Anita looked up slowly, her lips quivering. "Please, at least let me explain." But before she could finish, Beezy snatched the nearest bucket of water and flung it. It splashed across Anita's face and chest, soaking her wrapper. Gasps rippled through the compound. The sound of the water hitting the ground was like judgment. Anita staggered up, shivering. Her heart pounded so hard she could hear in her ears. The humiliation burned hotter than the sun itself. Beezy slammed the wooden door shut with a force that shook the zinc roof. Boom! The crowd dispersed in whispers. Anita stood alone, trembling, watching the door that just closed her out of what used to be her only home. The smell of burning stew drifted from another house. Somewhere in the distance, a church bell rang, and the muezzin's call floated faintly from the mosque nearby. The world was moving, but her own life had frozen in that single moment of shame. She wiped her wet face with the back of her hand. Her fingers shook. "God, please," she whispered, voice cracking. "You know my heart." She turned and began to walk out the compound, dragging her slippers through the sand. People stared as she passed, some with pity, others with disgust. She could feel every eye like a knife in her back. As she reached the main road, a gust of wind blew dust into her face. She looked up, and there was an eagle perched on the electric pole above, massive, golden eyes fixed on her. Still as death, she froze. The bird's feathers shimmered against the dying light. Lagos eagles were rare, almost never seen this close to the bustle of the city. For a moment, the noise of danfos, shouting hawkers, and honking horns disappeared. The eagle blinked once, slowly, then spread its wings wide. The wind around Anita swirled. She stumbled back. The bird gave a piercing cry that echoed to the street before it lifted off and vanished into the smoky clouds. Anita's heart pounded. She didn't understand what she'd just seen, but something inside her stirred with fear. A voice deep in her chest whispered, "They will know what you did." She started walking again, faster now, toward Ojalegba bus stop. The night was coming fast, and Lagos was not kind to those who had nowhere to go. As she crossed the busy junction, she caught sight of herself in a shop mirror, eyes red, hair scattered, guilt written across her face. Beezy, meanwhile, stood alone in her kitchen, staring at the wall. Her chest ached. Her breath came in short bursts. The anger that had felt righteous minutes ago now sat heavy like a stone in her heart. She picked up the plate that still held rice and stew, the meal she prepared for her man before she found the truth, and flung it into the sink. The ceramic shattered. Tears blurred her vision. Her phone buzzed on the counter. It was him. She looked at the name flashing on the screen and felt nausea rise in her throat. She picked up the phone, stared at it for a long second, then threw it hard against the wall. It cracked and fell silent. Beezy dropped to the floor, her face buried in her hands. "How could you do this to me, Anita?" she sobbed. "How could you?" Outside, thunder rolled across the Lagos sky, even though the clouds had not yet gathered. Later that night, Anita found herself in a small guest room behind a buka near Ojota. The owner, Mama Nene, a short Igbo woman with a kind heart, had taken pity on her. She offered her a mat to sleep on and a bowl of gari. As Anita lay down, she could still hear the eagles cry in her ears. The air was thick, the generators hummed constant. Sweat rolled down her face, but she couldn't sleep. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Beezy's face. The fury, the heartbreak, the betrayal she had caused. She sat up suddenly, clutching her wrapper. "I'll make it right," she whispered to herself. "I'll tell her everything. Tomorrow." But tomorrow had its own plans. Outside, the wind rose again, and a shadow passed across the window, wings wide, silent, watching. Meanwhile, miles away in Ibadan, an old herbalist known as Baba Jai sat before his fire, staring into a pot that was not boiling but moving, ripples circling against the laws of heat. He murmured softly, "The eagle has seen the deed. One will fall by water, the other by the wind." He threw a handful of cowries into sand. One turned upward with a mark that glowed faintly. His eyes widened. "So it begins." At dawn, Anita woke to the sound of chaos. People shouting, footsteps running past the buka. She rushed outside, her wrapper barely tied. "What happened?" she asked one of the boys. The boy pointed down the road. "A man died. Motor accident. They say now the man from yesterday. The one way they fight with woman for that compound." His car somersaulted. Anita froze. "Beezy's man." The boy shrugged. "I know him name, oh, but they say eagle fly past before the crash." Her mouth went dry. Her fingers trembled as she gripped the wooden post of the buka. Somewhere inside her, guilt turned to fear. She looked up again, and there, high in the pale Lagos sky, the eagle circled once more. Its shadow swept over her face like a warning. The morning air was heavy, thick with the smell of frying accra and exhaust fumes from the danfos that screamed down the expressway. Lagos never slept, but today, the noise felt sharper, like the city itself knew something had shifted. Anita sat by the corner of the buka where she had slept, her head in her hands. Her eyes were red, swollen from crying all night. The news of the accident still echoed in her ears. Beezy's man, Cunnel, was dead. The words didn't feel real. She had woken 3 times in the night, sweating and shaking, each time hearing the distant cry of the eagle. By morning, she couldn't tell if it was a dream or a curse. Mama Nene, the buka owner, walked past her carrying a bowl of pepper soup for a customer. "My daughter," she said, glancing down. "You look like Person Wacy spirit. You know Chop since yesterday." Anita lifted her head slowly. "Mama, something terrible happened." Mama Nene sighed and sat beside her. "For this Lagos, terrible thing day happen every day. But you must talk him out before it choke you." Anita swallowed hard, looking away. She couldn't bring herself to tell the full truth. "Someone I know died last night. A man." The older woman nodded. "Nah pity, but you go thank God say you still day breathe. You see, sometimes when something die, you be say something done open for new life." Anita forced a weak smile, but her stomach churned. She stood up, dusted her wrapper, and muttered, "Mama, I go to the market. I need air." The streets were alive with noise, the call of hawkers selling gala, roasted corn and pure water, the rhythm of Yoruba and pidgin mixing with car horns and laughter. Anita squeezed the crowd at Mile 12 Market, the air thick with the smell of fish, spices, and sweat. Women balanced baskets of tomatoes and pepper on their heads, shouting prices at the top of their lungs. The scene was familiar, too familiar. Once, she and Beezy had laughed through the same market, pricing clothes and gossiping over roasted plantain. The memory stabbed her heart. As she reached a row of stalls selling native herbs and beads, an old woman in a faded wrapper looked up sharply. Her eyes were cloudy but piercing. "You," she said suddenly, pointing at Anita. Anita froze. "Me?" The woman nodded. "Come here." People turned briefly to look before minding their business again. Anita hesitated, but something about the woman's voice drew her closer. The woman's stall was cluttered, cowries, dried leaves, small bottles of oil, and a carved wooden image of an eagle perched on a calabash. The sight made Anita's stomach twist. "You carry something heavy on your head," the old woman said, tapping the ground with her walking stick. "It's not a basket, but guilt." Anita's heart skipped. "Mama, I don't understand." The woman's lips curved into a thin, knowing smile. "Don't lie. You betrayed someone who trusted you. You think Lagos won't whisper to the spirits." Anita stepped back. "How did you—" The woman lifted one hand, silencing her. "The air around you is dark. The eagle already flew. You saw it, didn't you?" Anita's throat tightened. Her voice came out as a shaky whisper. "Yes." The market's noise seemed to fade. The woman leaned closer. Her breath smelled of bitter cola and thyme. "Then listen to me well. The eagle never comes without reason. It sees what humans hide. It has started its journey, and it will not stop until balance returns." Anita's legs wobbled. "Please, how can I stop it?" The woman shook her head slowly. "You can't stop an eagle in flight. You can only confess before it lands." Anita's lips trembled. "Confess to who?" "To the one you wronged," the woman replied. "But hurry. The spirit of retribution moves faster than guilt." A sudden gust of wind swept through the market, scattering dry leaves and shaking hanging bags of pepper. The carved eagle on the woman's table fell over with a sharp clack. Anita jumped back, her heart racing. The old woman laughed quietly. "See? Even the air knows your time is short." Anita turned and fled. The crowd blurred around her, faces, colors, voices. Her breath came fast. By the time she reached the bus stop, her hands were trembling uncontrollably. She climbed into a danfo heading towards Surulere. "Conductor, I beg, I go down for Ojalegba," she muttered. The bus rattled through traffic, past street preachers, billboard lights, and Okadas weaving recklessly. Every honk sounded like a warning. Every bird that crossed the sky looked larger than it should. When she arrived at Beezy's compound, she hesitated at the gate. The same neighbors who had watched her humiliation yesterday were sitting outside, gossiping as they peeled corn. Their chatter stopped when they saw her. "She done come again," one whispered. Anita ignored them and walked toward the door. Her chest was tight. She raised her hand and knocked softly. No answer. She knocked again, louder this time. The door opened slowly. Beezy stood there, her eyes puffy, her face pale. She looked like someone who hadn't slept. Anita's lips trembled. "Beezy, please, just listen." Beezy's expression hardened. "You have the nerve to come here again?" I came to tell you the truth, Anita cried, falling to her knees. I didn't mean to hurt you. He forced himself on me that night. I wanted to tell you, but I was scared you'd never believe me. Beezy's jaw tightened. So now you remember to tell me? After you lied? After I lost a man I loved? Anita shook her head desperately. I didn't kill him, Beezy. I swear I didn't. But Beezy's tears fell silently. He's dead. Anita, do you understand? Dead. And you come here with stories now that it's too late. The air between them was thick. Even the neighbors had gone quiet, pretending not to watch but listening intently. Beezy stepped closer, her voice trembling. You ruined my life. First my trust, now my peace. Get out again, before I call people to drag you out. Anita sobbed. Please, I'm begging you. I've been cursed. Something is following me. The eagle. Enough! Beezy shouted, slapping her so hard the sound cracked across the yard. Don't you dare bring madness to my door. Anita staggered back, clutching her cheek. You don't understand. It's real. The eagle. Go! Beezy screamed again. Go before I lose what's left of my sanity. Anita stumbled away, crying, as the neighbors whispered again. She ran until she reached the main road, her slippers slapping against the tar. Her breath came in ragged gasps. As she stopped near a roadside stall to catch her breath, she looked up. The sky had darkened unnaturally fast. Thunder rolled again, deep, distant, but powerful. She turned toward the sound and froze. On a rooftop nearby sat the eagle again, larger than before. This time, its wings were half spread, its head tilted slightly as if studying her. The world around her seemed to hold its breath. Even the traffic noise dimmed. Anita stepped back slowly. Please, she whispered. Please leave me. The eagle cried, a sound sharp and haunting, and then lifted off, circling high above her before flying toward the horizon. Anita collapsed to her knees in the dust. Tears streamed down her face. The words of the old market woman echoed in her head. Confess before it lands. Somewhere across the city, Beezy sat alone in her room, clutching a framed photo of Connell. Rain began to fall softly against the window. She didn't notice the shadow that passed briefly across the wall, a shadow shaped like wings. The thunder rolled once more, long and deep, and the market had spoken. Dress up, we're late. The shout came from the corridor of a 2-room apartment in Lekki Phase 1. Beezy's voice was sharp, half drowned out by the hum of the ceiling fan. The evening sun poured through the curtain, casting a gold glow across the tile floor. On the bed lay 2 dresses, one red, one emerald green, both shimmering under the dim light. Anita came out from the bathroom, towel wrapped around her chest. Beezy, you didn't tell me we were going somewhere fancy, oh. You said small birthday gathering. Beezy laughed, applying red lipstick in front of the mirror. Since when did I ever take you to small gatherings? Babe, this one no be roadside birthday. The celebrant rich guy from Port Harcourt. His oil company just opened a new office in Lagos. Anita frowned. Oil company? You mean money people? Plenty money people. Beezy said, smiling at her reflection. And you know Lagos parties. You don't go to just eat rice. You go to connect. Anita rolled her eyes playfully. Connect ABI flirt? Beezy smirked. Not the same thing, my sister. The one way get luck go connect for life. They laughed. But Anita's heart wasn't entirely light. She had been living with Beezy for only 6 months then, working together at a small fashion store in Acadia. Beezy had taken her in after her former landlord threw her out for unpaid rent. Their bond had grown fast, like sisters. But somewhere between the laughter and late-night gist, Anita had begun to feel something heavy she couldn't explain, an envy she didn't want to name. Where the green won, Beezy said suddenly, breaking her thoughts. Red is mine. Why? Anita asked, half smiling. Because green brings peace. And I need peace beside me tonight. People must see us and know we're not regular girls. They dressed quickly, both stunning in their own way. Beezy tall and confident, her skin glowing against her red sequin gown. Anita's soft face slender, with quiet beauty that caught people off guard. when they stepped out of the compound. Heads turned. The Kiki driver at the gate whistled softly. Not only in a fit turn night to Christmas light. They laughed and waved him off. By the time they arrived at the venue, a massive hall in Victoria Island with glittering lights and loud Afrobeat music, the place was already alive. Cars lined the street. Perfumes mixed with the smell of grilled meat from vendors outside. Inside, men in starchy batas and women in sparkling gowns filled the hall, dancing, laughing, shouting over the music. Anita's eyes widened. "Chai, see people." Beezy leaned close. "Relax. Carry yourself with pride. No be who get money pass go shine, not who get composure." They found a table near the middle, where a tall man with gold chain and a dark blue suit was laughing loudly with two other guests. The man noticed them instantly. His laughter slowed. His eyes scanned Beezy first, then Anita. He smiled. He stood up and walked toward them, moving with the confidence of someone used to attention. "Good evening, ladies," he said, voice smooth like age wine. "I don't think I've seen beauty like this here tonight." Beezy smiled shyly. "Thank you. We're friends of the celebrant." "Oh, then the celebrant deserves my gratitude for inviting angels." He extended his hand. "I'm Cunnel." Anita's heart skipped at the sound of the name. She couldn't say why. Maybe it was the way he looked at people, deep, intense, like he was measuring their souls. "I'm Beezy," she said, shaking his hand. "And you?" he asked, turning to Anita. "Anita," she said softly, avoiding his gaze. His lips curved. Beautiful name for a beautiful woman. She looked away quickly. For the rest of the night, Cunnel stayed around them, making them laugh, filling their glasses, introducing them to his wealthy friends. The air smelled of champagne and perfume, and laughter echoed against the hall's ceiling. When the music changed to a slower tune, Beezy excused herself to take a call outside. Cunnel immediately turned to Anita. "You're quiet," he said. "You don't talk much." "I talk," she said quickly, then smiled nervously. "Just not always." He leaned closer. "That makes you dangerous. The quiet ones think too deep." She looked up at him. Their eyes met, and for a moment she couldn't breathe. There was something magnetic about his confidence, the way he talked, the way his eyes held her. When Beezy returned, Cunnel shifted smoothly, smiling at her again as if nothing happened. But Anita had seen it, the flash in his eyes, the way he looked at her, and though she didn't want to admit it, part of her liked it. Later that night, after the party ended, the rain began to fall as they waited for a cab. Beezy's makeup had smudged, her heels and her hands, but she was laughing. See enjoyment. This Lagos life sweet, oh. Anita smiled faintly, but her mind was far away, still replaying Cunnel's words. Just then, a black car pulled up beside them. The tinted window rolled down, and Cunnel's voice came from inside. "You two shouldn't be standing in the rain. Let me drop you off." Beezy laughed. "You? Mr. Generous again?" He smiled. "You can't blame a man for being chivalrous." They exchanged glances before Beezy nodded. "Okay, but only to Surulere. Anywhere you want," Cunnel said, opening the door. They got in, the car smelling of leather and cologne. Anita sat at the back beside Beezy, staring out the window as the city lights flashed by. Cunnel's voice filled the car, smooth and confident. "You know," he said, "the two of you remind me of loyalty and beauty. One as fire, the other calm. It's rare to see that in women these days." Beezy chuckled. "And which one be which?" He looked at her through the mirror. "You, my dear, are fire." Beezy laughed proudly. "And Anita?" Cunnel's eyes met Anita's reflection in the mirror. "She's a calm before the storm." Anita looked away immediately, heart racing. When they reached their compound, Beezy thanked him, but Cunnel got out first, opening the door for her. "I insist on walking you in. Lagos night no safe." Beezy blushed. Anita walked ahead silently. Inside the compound, Cunnel handed Beezy his card. "Call me sometime. I'd like to take you both out for lunch." Anita avoided his gaze, but she could feel it burning on her skin. That night, after they showered and changed into nightwear, Beezy couldn't stop talking. "Chai, that man fine. And the way he carries himself. You can tell he has money. Anita lay on her side, pretending to scroll through her phone. He seems confident, she said quietly. Confident. Beezy laughed. That one is power walking. I must call him tomorrow. Anita smiled weakly. You like him? Beezy grinned. Like, my sister. I'm already imagining wedding color. Maybe white and gold. Anita laughed faintly, but her heart sank. Something inside her warned. Stay away from him. But curiosity is a soft whisper that pride often ignores. As she drifted asleep, rain drumming on the window, she heard faint thunder far away, the same rolling sound that had followed her before. In her dream, she saw an eagle, massive, glowing faintly, perched on a rooftop. Its eyes stared straight into hers, unblinking, and in the reflection of its gaze, she saw Beezy laughing beside Cunnel, while her own shadow stood alone in the dark. When she woke, sweat clung to her skin. The call to prayer floated from the mosque outside. The dream faded, but the feeling remained. Something had begun that night, and the party that changed everything was only the beginning of a storm. Anita picked the call. Beezy's voice rang out from the kitchen as the ringtone filled the small apartment. The early afternoon heat had turned the air thick and heavy. A pot of jollof rice simmered on the gas stove, the scent of tomato and seasoning drifting through the air. Anita came out from the bathroom, towel over her shoulder. Who's calling me? Beezy stirred the rice, without looking up. Guess who? Mr. Gold Chain himself. Anita froze. Cunnel. Yes-o, Beezy said, grinning. You better pick before he thinks we're forming. Anita hesitated, then reached for the phone. The screen flashed his name boldly. Cunnel Oil and Gas. Her chest tightened. She took a breath and answered. Hello. His voice came through smooth and warm. Anita. Finally. I was starting to think you didn't want to talk to me. Anita smiled nervously. No, sir. Sorry, Cunnel. I've been busy. He chuckled softly. Busy ignoring me. Maybe. Anyway, how are you and your friend? Is Beezy there? Anita's eyes flicked to Beezy, who was humming by the pot. Yes, she's cooking. Good. Tell her I'm picking you both up this evening. There's an event at my company's lounge in Victoria Island. Casual. Drinks, good food, good people. You'll enjoy it. Anita hesitated. Okay, I'll tell her. Please do, he said, voice dropping lower. And wear something that matches your calm nature. I'll see you at 7. The line went dead. Beezy turned, wiping her hands on a towel. So, what did my husband-to-be say? Anita forced a smile. He invited us for another event. Beezy laughed. You see? The man can't resist me. I told you. But Anita said nothing. Inside, her stomach twisted with something she didn't want to name. By 7 o'clock, the two women were dressed again. Beezy in a fitted gold gown that shimmered under the compound light. Anita in a soft white dress that made her look almost angelic. A black Lexus pulled up, clean and sleek. Cunnel stepped out, gold chain glinting against his chest. Ah, my favorite ladies, he said, opening the doors to them. You both look divine. The drive to Victoria Island was smooth, the city glowing in the distance. Tall buildings reflected neon lights. The night breeze blew through the car as soft jazz played from the speakers. Cunnel glanced at Anita through the mirror more than once. Each time she caught him, he smiled slightly. Her chest would tighten, and she'd look away quickly. When they arrived at the lounge, it was buzzing with music and laughter. People in suits and dresses filled the open-air space, holding cocktails, posing for pictures. Beezy clung to Cunnel's arm proudly. You see, she whispered to Anita, I told you this man is serious. He's showing me off. Anita nodded weakly, but her eyes couldn't stop watching how Cunnel's hand occasionally brushed Beezy's waist, and how his gaze sometimes drifted back to her. They sat at a reserved table near the stage. Waiters moved gracefully, placing trays of drinks. Cunnel ordered wine. You both deserve to relax, he said, lifting his glass. To beauty, loyalty, and good fortune. Beezy laughed. Amen. Anita lifted her glass, trying to smile, but the word loyalty stabbed her like a knife. As the evening went on, Beezy got tipsy, laughing louder than usual, dancing even when the song changed. Cunnel joined her on the dance floor, holding her close, whispering things that made her blush. Anita sat alone at the table, sipping water, feeling invisible. She told herself she should leave early, but her legs wouldn't move. Her mind was tangled, admiration, jealousy, guilt, all at once. When Beezy excused herself to use the restroom, Cunnel returned to the table, face glistening from the dance. He leaned closer to Anita. "You don't like to dance?" he asked softly. She looked up, startled. "I'm fine here." He smiled. "You're not fine. You're pretending. I can see it in your eyes." She looked away. "I don't know what you mean." "Yes, you do," he said, voice low, almost intimate. "You've been quiet since I met you. Always watching, always thinking. But I see more than you think I do." Anita's fingers tightened around her glass. "Cunnel, please. Beezy is my friend." "I know," he said calmly, "and that's why I respect you." But his hand brushed hers lightly on the table. Her breath hitched. He smiled faintly. "You should call me sometime. Not as your friend's man, but as someone who wants to know your mind." Before she could respond, Beezy returned, laughing, holding a phone. "Cunnel, come and see. People are already asking about you on Instagram Live." Cunnel straightened quickly, smiling again. I'm a celebrity now." He walked away with her, but Anita could feel his eyes on her back. By the time they left the lounge, it was past midnight. The air smelled of rain again. The streets glistened with puddles. Cunnel drove, one hand on the wheel, the other resting casually on his thigh. Beezy had fallen asleep in the back seat, head tilted to the side. Anita sat in front beside Cunnel, tense, staring out the window. "You're quiet again," he said. She swallowed. "I'm thinking." "About what?" "About right and wrong." He chuckled softly. "Right and wrong are just words. What matters is what feels true in the moment." She turned to him sharply. "That's dangerous talk." He glanced at her, smiling. Danger makes life interesting. The car slowed at a traffic light. The red glow painted his face, and for a moment, Anita saw something in his eyes. Something not kind, but powerful. "I should get out here," she said suddenly. "Don't be ridiculous. It's late. I'll take no kata." Cunnel shook his head. "No, I'll drop you home." She exhaled, realizing resistance was pointless. When they reached the compound, Beezy was still asleep. Cunnel stopped the car and looked at Anita. "Wake her when you're ready," he said softly. "But before you go..." He reached into the dashboard and pulled out a small gold chain, simple, elegant, with a tiny eagle pendant. "This is for you." Anita blinked. "What? No, I can't." "It's just appreciation," he said. "For being different. For seeing me..." She hesitated. "Beezy will misunderstand." He smiled faintly. "Then don't tell her." Her heart raced as she looked at the chain. The eagle pendant shimmered faintly under the car light. She took it slowly. "Thank you," she whispered. Cunnel leaned closer, his voice almost a whisper. "Don't wear it tonight. Wait until the right moment." Before she could move, his hand brushed her cheek, light, fleeting. Then he opened the door for her. "Good night, Anita." She got out quickly, heart pounding. As she helped Beezy inside, she glanced back. Cunnel was still watching her from the car, the reflection of the eagle pendant catching the light. The engine roared softly as he drove away into night. Later, when Anita lay awake on her bed, she turned the small gold chain over and over in her palm. It felt warm, almost alive. She could still smell Cunnel's cologne on her fingers. Beezy murmured in her sleep beside her, smiling faintly. "Cunnel." Anita closed her eyes. Tears slid down her cheeks. "God, please," she whispered. "Don't let me fall." But outside, perched on the compound's fence under the moonlight, the rail eagle sat watching, silent, unmoving. Its golden eyes followed her window, and when the wind passed through the trees, its wings shifted slightly, like it had already chosen its next flight. The sun beat down like punishment. The air smelled of dust, pepper, and roasted corn. Traders shouted prices across the road, while a woman selling plantain fanned the smoke away from her face. The market was alive, but beneath the noise, something strange lingered. A quiet warning, heavy like a storm waiting to break. Anita stood at the entrance of the market, clutching her small nylon bag of clothes. She hadn't eaten since morning, and her head throbbed. After Cunnel dropped them off 2 nights ago, she hadn't been herself. She hadn't slept, either. The gold chain, the one with the eagle pendant, sat heavy around her neck. She tried to remove it twice, but each time she felt a sharp coldness rush through her chest, like invisible hands holding it in place. Now, as she stepped the crowded aisles of Balogun Market, people brushed past her, some muttering, others laughing. Yet she felt isolated, as if the world moved without her. She stopped near a stall selling palm oil and beans. A hawker brushed past her, and the eagle pendant swung against her skin, glinting under the sun. Instantly, a woman behind the stall hissed and pointed. "Madam, who give you that thing?" Anita frowned. "What thing?" "That chain." "Remove am," the woman barked. "You know dey hear word? That bird symbol no be for ordinary people. Nah, omen." A few other women turned to look. One crossed herself. Another spat on the ground. Anita clutched the pendant protectively. "It's just jewelry." "Jewelry?" The woman shook her head, voice trembling. "Girl, no eagle day follow human for play. That sign mean judgment. Somebody don offend spirit. Now warning." Anita's throat tightened. "You're scaring me." The woman leaned forward. "If you see eagle where other people no day see am, my daughter, you no need prophet. You need mercy." Anita stepped back, eyes wide. "I have to go." "Go pray," the woman called after her. "Before the market speaks again, and this time not with mouth." Outside, the sky dimmed suddenly, though it was still midday. The wind picked up, scattering leaves and paper. Traders looked up uneasily. Then it came, a sharp cry from above. An eagle, huge and golden, circled the market once, twice, then 3 times. The crowd gasped. Some fell to their knees. Others grabbed their wares and fled. "Jesus!" someone shouted. "Nah, Sino!" Children ran crying between stalls. Anita's blood ran cold. Her legs refused to move. The eagle hovered above her for a heartbeat, wings spread wide. Then it let out a piercing scream that seemed to cut through her bones before vanishing into the clouds. The whole market went still, and then chaos. Traders began shouting prayers, calling pastors, throwing salt on the ground. A young woman fainted near the pepper stand. Anita stumbled backward, knocking over a basket of tomatoes. Her hands shook as she clutched her chest. She wanted to run, but her body felt like lead. A hand caught her arm, firm but gentle. She turned. It was a man in plain white native attire, middle-aged, eyes calm. "You can't run from what's already inside you," he said quietly. "Who are you?" Anita stammered. "Just someone who listens when the market speaks." "I don't understand." He looked up at the sky. "Something follows you, not because of hatred, but because of balance. You broke something sacred. The eagle doesn't fly for nothing." Tears burned Anita's eyes. "Please help me. What should I do?" "Confess to the one you wronged," he said. "And if it's already too late, kneel on bare earth and beg the wind to carry your truth." Before she could respond, he was gone, swallowed by the crowd like smoke. Anita turned in circles, searching, but he had vanished completely. The market noise slowly returned, but everything felt different. Thinner, quieter, wary. By evening, clouds rolled dark over Lagos. Anita returned home to find Beezy in the sitting room, arms folded, eyes cold. "You went out again?" Beezy asked flatly. "Yes," Anita whispered. "Looking for who?" "Another man." Anita shook her head quickly. "Beezy, please stop." "I didn't." "Then why can't I trust you anymore?" Beezy snapped. "Since that night, something about you feels wrong. Even the air in this house is heavy." Anita's lips trembled. "Because something is wrong, Beezy. The eagle." Beezy scoffed. "That again? You keep talking like a madwoman. Every time it rains, You say the eagle is calling your name. Anita, you need deliverance. I saw it today, Anita said, voice breaking. In the market. It circled me. People screamed. They said it's a sign. Beezy's face softened for a moment, then hardened again. Even if Spirit Day follow you, you brought it yourself. Don't involve me. Anita dropped to her knees. Beezy, please. Let's pray together. Let's ask for forgiveness. Maybe it's not too late. Beezy sighed, backing away. You should be the one praying, not me. Lightning flashed outside, bright against a window. The rumble that followed shook the building slightly. Anita rose slowly, tears falling. You think I deserve it, don't you? Beezy didn't answer. She walked to her room and shut the door quietly. Anita stood in the dim light, staring at the closed door. Then she whispered, If I die, at least the truth will follow me. The eagle's pennant felt heavy again, pressing against her chest like a heartbeat that wasn't hers. That night, thunder rolled for hours. The rain came in waves, slapping against the zinc roof. Anita couldn't sleep. Every time she closed her eyes, she heard wings, not in dreams, but somewhere above the house. A soft scrape, then silence. Again and again. Around midnight, she got up, opened the door, and stepped into the rain. Her nightgown clung to her body as she looked up at the dark sky. Why me? She shouted. Why won't you leave me alone? The only answer was wind. She sank to her knees in the mud, sobbing. I didn't want to hurt her. I swear I didn't. A sudden gust of wind swept across the yard, knocking a bucket over. A shadow moved in the darkness above the fence. Wide wings, glinting eyes. Anita froze. No! The eagle landed on the fence post, feathers gleaming under the lightning flash. It looked at her silently. For a long moment, neither moved. Then it spread its wings and let out one cry, loud, echoing final, before vanishing into the night sky. Anita collapsed fully into the mud, shaking uncontrollably. At dawn, the market gossip had already begun. Traders whispered that a woman with an eagle necklace had been seen screaming at the sky, that thunder answered her words, and that an old palm oil seller had found feathers in her basin afterward. By midday, people were already saying, the market has spoken, the spirit don wake. And somewhere deep in Ibadan, an old herbalist stirred his pot and murmured, the wind has carried a confession halfway. The rest will come by blood. The morning broke, heavy with mist. The sky hung low, gray and quiet, as if Lagos itself held its breath. Rainwater dripped steadily from the rooftops, forming muddy streams along the narrow compound path. Anita stood at the doorway, her eyes sunken, her hair damp, her mind far from peace. She hadn't slept. The events of the previous night replayed endlessly. The eagle's cry, the feathers in the mud, the market woman's warning. Something deep inside her whispered that time was running out. From inside the room, Beezy's voice cut through the silence. Anita, come inside. You'll catch cold. Anita turned slowly. Beezy was seated on the edge of her bed, dressed in her work clothes, a plain black gown with a small tear at the hem. She looked exhausted, her face pale from sleeplessness too. Beezy, Anita said softly, do you believe in curses? Beezy frowned. Curses? Why are you asking? Anita's voice trembled. Because something is following me. Everywhere I go, it's there. The eagle, the wind, the noise in my dreams. Even the market spoke about it. Beezy sighed, rubbing her forehead. Anita, I'm tired. I've lost my peace, my man, and my trust. Please don't add fear to it. You're scaring me. Anita's eyes filled with tears. Then let me tell you everything. The truth you never wanted to hear. Beezy looked up sharply. What truth? Anita stepped closer, clutching the edge of her wrapper. That night with Cunnel. He came here drunk. I told him to leave. He grabbed me and I fought him, but he wouldn't stop. I screamed your name. I pushed him. He fell, then begged me not to tell you. And I didn't, because I was scared you'd think I wanted it. Beezy stared blankly, her hands trembling. You're lying, she said quietly. You're saying this now to clean yourself. Anita shook her head, crying. No, I swear. That's why I left home that morning. That's why I was broken. I wanted to tell you, but I saw how happy you were. I didn't want to destroy you. Beezy rose from the bed slowly, her face pale. So you're saying, Colonel, he? Anita nodded, sobbing. Yes, but I forgave him in silence because I didn't want to lose you. Beezy covered her mouth, tears streaming down her face. Oh my God! She sank back onto the bed. For a moment, silence filled the room, broken only by the sound of dripping rain. Then Beezy looked up suddenly, eyes wild. Why didn't you tell me then? Why did you let me think you were the one who betrayed me? I tried. Anita cried. You wouldn't listen. I wouldn't listen? Beezy laughed bitterly, her voice rising. You had months. You watched me cook for him, love him, plan my future with him, while carrying that secret. Anita reached for her, but Beezy pushed her hand away. Don't touch me. The door burst open suddenly as the compound's caretaker, Mama Dupe, stepped in with a broom in her hand. What's all this noise early in the morning? She barked. Beezy stood up, tears falling. Nothing, Mama Dupe. Nothing? You too, Don, turned the whole compound a film set. The older woman hissed. Better settle your walla. Rain, Don, scatter half the gutter already. Now una voice won't scatter the rest. She left, shaking her head. When she was gone, Beezy sank back into the chair, weeping silently. Anita knelt beside her. Beezy, I'm sorry. I should have told you everything. Beezy didn't look at her. It's too late, Anita. Cunnel's dead. The truth can't fix that. I know, Anita whispered, but maybe it can stop what's coming. Beezy frowned. What do you mean? Anita took a deep breath. There's something else. Something I've remembered, or maybe something the eagle made me remember. Beezy looked up warily. What? Anita's voice trembled. Years ago, when we were still in secondary school in Ibadan, do you remember that day by the riverbank, when we swore never to betray each other? Beezy frowned, thinking. The day after our WAC exams, we cut our fingers and mixed our blood. Anita nodded slowly. We said, if I ever betray you, let the spirits of the wind and the sky bear witness and bring justice. Beezy's mouth fell open. The memory struck her like lightning. You're saying that childish oath is what's causing all this? It wasn't childish, Anita said firmly. We made it with blood, and the eagle, it's the sky's witness. It's here to collect. Beezy stared at her in horror. No, that can't be real. Lightning flashed outside, followed by a deafening thunderclap. The lights flickered, then went out. Both women froze. In the darkness, a sudden gust of wind burst through the window, scattering papers, blowing the curtain violently. The pendant around Anita's neck glowed faintly. Jesus! Beezy screamed, clutching her chest. What's happening? Anita backed against the wall, shaking. It's here! A loud flutter of wings filled the air, not inside the room, but somewhere above the roof. The zinc sheets trembled. The sound was unmistakable. The sweep of giant feathers slicing the air. Beezy! Anita cried. We have to make it right. We have to go to the river. What river? The same one in Ibadan. That's where we swore the oath. We must go back and beg. Beezy stared at her, trembling. Anita, that's madness. Please. Anita grabbed her arm. If we don't, one of us will die. The sound came again, closer now, heavier. The bulb flickered briefly, revealing a dark shadow moving across the wall, wings wide, beak sharp, silent but powerful. Both women screamed. Then, as suddenly as it came, the shadow vanished. The rain eased. Silence returned. Anita fell to her knees, weeping uncontrollably. It won't stop until we confess, until we undo the blood oath. Beezy stared blankly at the wall. Her voice was hollow. Then we go. We go to Ibadan tomorrow. Anita looked up, eyes filled with tears. You believe me now? Beezy nodded slowly. I don't know what to believe, but if that thing comes again, I won't wait to find out. By dawn the next day, the two women packed small bags and boarded a bus heading to Ibadan. The road was long, the sky dull and heavy. Neither spoke. The noise of the bus engine and the rattle of the tires filled the silence between them. As they passed the toll gate, Anita looked out the window. For a brief moment, far in the distance, she saw a dark shape gliding above the clouds, massive, silent, watching. She turned to Beezy, whispering, "It's following us." Beezy didn't reply. Her hands clutched her rosary tightly. The driver switched on the radio. The newscaster's voice filled the bus. Mysterious bird sightings reported along the Lagos-Ibadan expressway. Witnesses say an unusually large eagle has been circling vehicles since dawn. The passengers gasped. One man crossed himself. Anita and Beezy exchanged a terrified glance. By the time they reached Ibadan, the sun had set. The sky burned orange and red like fire. They found a small guest house near Odo Ona, dropped their bags, and sat quietly on the narrow bed. Anita whispered, "Tomorrow we go to the river." We begged the spirits. Beezy nodded weakly. "If it will end this nightmare, yes." Outside, somewhere beyond the trees, came a faint cry, long, echoing, unmistakable. The eagle. Beezy buried her face in her hands. "God have mercy." Anita whispered shakily, "It's not God this time. It's the oath." The wind had changed. By the time Beezy and Anita reached Port Harcourt, the air felt thick, like it carried eyes. Clouds pressed low, dark and restless, as though waiting for something to unfold. The city was alive as always. Hawkers calling, trucks roaring, radios blaring. But underneath the usual noise, there was a strange heaviness that followed them everywhere they went. They had left Ibadan at dawn after visiting the river, where they made their childhood oath. They knelt, they prayed, they cried, but the river stayed silent. No ripple, no sign, just the hiss of wind through the reeds. When they left, Anita swore she saw a single feather floating against the current, refusing to sink. Beezy said it was only her imagination, but both women knew deep down that nothing had changed. Now, sitting in a small hotel near Mile 2 in Port Harcourt, they could barely speak. The walls were thin, the generator hummed loud, the air sticky with humidity. Beezy sat on the bed, her hands clenched in her lap. Anita stood by the window, staring into the restless night. "We've done what we could," Beezy whispered finally. "We went back to the river. We prayed. We begged. If that oath is real, then heaven should have heard us." Anita turned slowly, her eyes hollow. "The eagle hasn't stopped following us. It didn't end there." Beezy frowned. "You're imagining things." "No," Anita said softly. "You saw it yourself on the way here, flying above the bus. How can a bird follow us across 3 cities? Beezy looked away, her voice trembling. "Then what do you want us to do? Keep running? We can't even breathe anymore. Anita, everywhere we go, people look at us like we're cursed." Anita gripped the window bars tightly. "We can't run forever. We have to face it." "Face what?" "The truth," Anita said quietly. "We can't hide anymore. Maybe it's not just the oath. Maybe it's everything. The lies, the silence, the pain." Beezy stared at her for a long moment, then turned away, wiping her eyes. "You sound like those market women with stories of spirits and omens." But even as she said it, thunder rolled across the city, low, deep, and far too deliberate. Both women froze. The sound wasn't random. It came in waves, like footsteps across the clouds. Anita's voice was barely a whisper. "It's here." The lights flickered once, then went out completely. The room plunged into darkness. The generator outside coughed, sputtered, and died. Only the sound of wind filled the silence. Then came the first cry, a loud, piercing shriek that seemed to tear through the air. The eagle. Beezy jumped up, clutching Anita's arm. "No, no, no, this can't be happening." Anita backed toward the wall. "Don't move." Outside the window, shadows shifted. Lightning flashed, illuminating the sky for a heartbeat. And in that instant, they saw it. The eagle, massive, wings spread across the night sky, its feathers glimmering like molten bronze. It hovered above the building, eyes burning gold. The thunder came again, shaking the windows. Beezy screamed, "Jesus! Jesus!" Anita fell to her knees, sobbing. We've angered it. It's not done. The eagle let out another scream, louder this time, and the glass cracked from the vibration. Beezy grabbed Anita's hand. We have to go. They burst out of the room and down the narrow corridor. The power was still out. Only faint light from lightning flashes guided them. The other guests shouted in confusion, unaware of the unseen terror hovering above. As they reached the compound, the air turned icy cold. The sky rippled with light, but there was no rain. Instead, feathers, white and gold, floated down, landing silently on the wet ground. Anita stopped, staring upward. It's watching us. Beezy yanked her arm. Move. They ran out through the gate, into the street. Motorcycles screeched past. A group of men huddled by a roadside beer joint, staring upward with fear. Una Siam, one shouted. That bird done big past normal eagle, oh. It's not ordinary, another muttered. Nah, spirit bird. The women ran until they reached the main road. The streetlights flickered, and the air buzzed with strange energy. A bus horn blared, making them jump. Anita bent over, panting. It won't stop, Beezy. It won't stop until it takes one of us. Beezy glared at her. Don't talk like that. Anita straightened slowly, eyes glistening with tears. You know I'm right. This started with me. But it's tied to both of us. One of us must pay. Stop. Beezy shouted, shaking her. You're scaring me. A sudden gust of wind knocked over a nearby signboard. The metallic clang echoed down the street. People began to scatter. Anita stared at the fallen sign, breathing hard. It's giving us a message. What message? Before she could answer, the eagle screamed again, this time so close that the air itself seemed to vibrate. The street went silent. Everyone looked up. It was perched on a tall electric pole, just above the women. Its eyes glowed brighter than the lights below. Someone shouted from a distance, Run! But neither woman moved. They stood rooted to the ground as the eagle flapped its wings once, twice, then dived. Beezy ducked, screaming. The wind from its wings threw Anita backward onto the wet pavement. Pain shot through her shoulder as she hit the ground. The eagle soared back upward, circling. Anita! Beezy shouted, rushing to her. Get up! Anita groaned, clutching her arm. I can't, my hand. People nearby scattered into shops, shouting prayers. Blood of Jesus! Blood of Jesus! Beezy helped Anita up, trembling. We can't stay here. They ran again, deeper into the street, turning corners, past closed stores and parked trucks. Finally, they ducked into an unfinished building, gasping for breath. Anita slumped against the wall, shaking uncontrollably. It touched me, Beezy. It almost took me. Beezy looked outside to the broken window. The eagle was gone, but its cries still echoed in the distance. For a moment, only the sound of rain returned. Then Anita whispered, I can't run anymore. We have to end this. Beezy turned. How? Anita's eyes glowed with desperate resolve. I'll go to the shrine. The one in Diobu. They say the priests there deal with sky spirits. If this thing is the oath, maybe they can help. Beezy hesitated, her face pale. That's dangerous. So is dying, Anita said quietly. An hour later, the women arrived at a dimly lit street where the shrine stood. Old symbols covered the walls, and the faint smell of burning incense filled the air. An elderly priest in red cloth sat cross-legged by the doorway, his eyes closed. He spoke before they could open their mouths. I've been expecting you. Anita froze. Expecting us? The man's eyes opened, clear, sharp, ancient. The wind carried your story before your feet arrived. Beezy shivered. We didn't mean to offend anyone. We were just children when we took the oath. The priest nodded slowly. Children who spoke like spirits. Words sealed with blood are not easily broken. Anita's voice trembled. Then what do we do? He pointed at her pendant. That chain is the key. The eagle's eye is bound to it until it is returned to the sky. The balance will not settle. Return how? By blood, he said simply. Beezy gasped. No, there must be another way. The priest looked at them both. There is always another way, but not always a merciful one. You may both live, but only if one confesses in truth and the other forgives completely. No hatred must remain between you, or the sky will take both. Anita's tears fell freely. I'll confess. I'll take whatever comes. The priest closed his eyes again. Then tomorrow, before the first cock crows, go to the river once more. Bring no pride, no excuses. Let the eagle see your hearts. If they are clean, it will leave you. If not, he didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. That night, back in their hotel, neither woman slept. The air was heavy with dread. Anita stared at the ceiling. Beezy, if I die tomorrow, forgive me. Beezy turned away, tears in her eyes. Don't talk like that. Anita smiled weakly. I mean it. Promise me. Beezy whispered. I promise. Outside, far away, thunder rolled again. But this time, no lightning followed. Just a faint, distant cry of wings cutting through the night air over Port Harcourt. The first drop fell at dawn. It hit the dry earth softly, then another and another until the sky began to weep. The rain started as a whisper, slow and uncertain, before turning heavy, drumming against leaves, sand, and human hearts alike. Anita and Beezy stood side by side on the muddy path that led down to the river. The air smelled of wet earth and palm fronds. The river itself stretched wide and dark, swollen from the night storm, its surface shifting like restless breath. Neither woman spoke. Their clothes were soaked, clinging to their skin, their slippers squelched in the mud. The only sound was a steady rhythm of rain and the distant rumble of thunder. Anita gripped the eagle pendant hanging from her neck. It was warm, almost burning. This is it, she whispered. If we're meant to make peace, it has to be now. Beezy's lips trembled. I don't know if I can forgive you. Anita turned to her, eyes red. Then at least hear me. The rain fell harder, washing away their tears before they could even form. Anita took a deep breath, her voice cracking. I loved you like a sister. You were the only family I had after Mama died. When Cunnel came into your life, I was happy for you, truly. But that night changed everything. He came drunk, angry, saying you'd embarrass him in front of his friends. I told him to leave, but he wouldn't listen. Beezy's breath hitched. Anita continued, her voice breaking between sobs. He grabbed me, forced me down. I fought him. I scratched his face. I begged him to stop. He didn't. And afterward, he begged me not to tell you. I thought if I stayed silent, I'd protect you. But my silence became a curse. Beezy stepped back, shaking her head. I can't. Anita, why didn't you tell me then? Why let me think you were the one who betrayed me? Anita fell to her knees in the mud. Because I saw how much you loved him. You said he was your future. I couldn't destroy that. I thought God would punish me for speaking. But I see now that keeping quiet was worse. Beezy's hands trembled. And the chain? The gift he gave you? Anita looked down at it. He left it behind that night. I didn't want it, but somehow it found its way back to me. Maybe he meant it as guilt, maybe as power. I don't know, but every time I tried to throw it away, it burned. Beezy's eyes filled with tears. She knelt slowly beside Anita. You let me hate you for so long. You watched me curse you, humiliate you, chase you into the street. I deserved it, Anita said weakly. I thought your pain was my punishment. Beezy covered her face and sobbed. The rain poured harder, running down their arms like liquid fire. From across the river, a loud cry echoed, low, long, and unearthly. Both women froze. The eagle's cry. Anita clutched Beezy's hands tightly. It's time. We must speak together. Say the truth to the sky. Beezy hesitated, shaking. I can't. You must, Anita whispered fiercely. If not, it'll take us both. Thunder cracked above them, followed by a flash of lightning, so bright it turned the world white. The wind roared through the trees, bending the tall grasses like waves. Anita lifted her face to the sky and shouted to the storm, I broke the oath of friendship. I betrayed the trust of my sister. The wind howled in reply. Beezy fell to her knees beside her, her voice trembling, and I cursed her without knowing the truth. I called her evil. I wished her death. Lightning struck again, closer this time. The ground shook. The river surface began to churn violently, sending ripples toward them. Anita cried louder. We confess. We confess to the spirits of the wind and the sky. A massive shadow moved across the clouds. The eagle descended. It wasn't flying. It was gliding. Its wings stretched wide enough to block the sun. Its golden feathers shimmered with blinding light as it circled once, twice, then hovered above the river. Beezy screamed, "Oh, God, forgive us!" The eagle let out a cry so loud that the trees trembled. Its wings beat once, sending a gust of wind that knocked both women flat to the ground. The chain around Anita's neck snapped, flying into the air and landing in the river with a hiss like hot metal in water. Silence fell. The rain slowed to a drizzle. The air grew still. Anita gasped for breath. Her hands pressed into the mud. Beezy lifted her head slowly. The eagle hovered for a moment longer, then turned toward the mountains and vanished into the mist. The only sound left was the river's soft, steady flow. Beezy crawled toward Anita, grabbing her hand. "It's gone," she whispered. "It's over." Anita didn't respond. Her eyes were open, her lips parted slightly, but her chest didn't move. "Anita?" Beezy shook her gently. "Anita, wake up." "Nothing. Please." Beezy sobbed, shaking harder. "Don't do this. Not now." Her own cries echoed across the river, fading into the rain. After a long moment, she bent down, pressing her forehead against Anita's. "I forgive you," she whispered. "From my soul, I forgive you." A small breeze brushed against her cheek, soft, gentle, almost like a touch. She looked up. The rain had stopped completely. The clouds broke apart, and sunlight spilled over the river. In the middle of the water, something shimmered. The gold chain floated briefly on the surface, then sank slowly, leaving only ripples behind. Beezy stared, tears mixing with the rain on her face. She whispered, "So it's true. The sky takes one, and the river keeps the other." She stayed there beside her friend's still body until the sun climbed higher. The villagers found her hours later, kneeling beside the river, whispering prayers that no one understood. By nightfall, word had spread across Port Harcourt, a story of two women who had fought confessed and one who died beneath the rain. Some said they saw a great eagle circling the sky that morning. Others swore they saw none. But everyone agreed that the storm had ended the moment a woman's final cry reached the heavens. And from that day on, no one in the area wore an eagle pendant again. The morning after the rain smelled of endings. The river was calm again, its muddy banks washed clean by the storm. The air felt too still, too heavy, the kind of silence that holds its breath before something sacred or terrible happens. By the time villagers arrived, word had already spread. 2 women had come to the storm, one alive, one gone. They found Beezy kneeling at the edge of the water, her hands folded around Anita's wrist, her face streaked with tears and river sand. A small crowd gathered, whispering among themselves. She still day kneel since morning. Now witchcraft or oath? God help us. A man in a fisherman's hat stepped forward. "Madam, the sundawn rise finish. You go fall sick if you stay like this." Beezy turned slowly. Her eyes were red, hollow. "She's gone," she whispered. They lifted Anita's body gently, wrapping her in a white cloth. Her face looked peaceful, almost smiling, as if death had forgiven what life could not. The chain was gone, the wound around her neck faintly glowing like it had been kissed by fire. The villagers murmured prayers. Some made the sign of the cross. Others whispered Yoruba chants under their breath. One woman spat on the ground and said softly, "Eagle Don take when he come for." That evening, as the body was prepared for burial, Beezy sat outside the small guest house where they had stayed. The sky was dim, the air thick with the smell of palm oil and smoke from cooking fires. But beyond that ordinary calm, something felt wrong. Birds weren't singing. Dogs weren't barking. Even the trees seemed frozen, their leaves unmoving. Beezy stared into the distance. Her thoughts were a blur of guilt, loss, and confusion. Every time she blinked, she saw Anita's face, wet with rain, lips whispering forgiveness with her last breath. A faint sound broke the silence. Wings. She looked up sharply. At first it was small, a shadow gliding across the twilight sky. Then it grew larger, darker, more defined. The wings spread wide, blocking what little sunlight remained. Her heart stopped. It was back. The eagle. Not like before. This time it was closer, heavier, slower. It moved like something ancient returning to finish what it began. The villagers who stood nearby saw it too. Some screamed, scattering into their houses. Others fell to the ground, shouting, "Blood of Jesus!" Beezy didn't move. She stood frozen as the eagle descended, wings beating against the air with a sound like thunder. Dust swirled around her feet. The air grew cold. It landed on the riverbank, enormous, its feathers glowing faintly under the fading light. Its eyes burned golden, reflecting both fire and sorrow. For a long moment, they stared at each other, woman and spirit, guilt and justice. Beezy swallowed hard. "You've taken her. Why are you still here?" The eagle tilted its head. "I didn't mean for any of this," she whispered. "I just want to protect my heart. I didn't know silence could kill." The eagle's wings shifted, feathers rustling like whispers. Beezy took a shaky step forward. "If you came for me too, then I'm ready." The eagle let out a cry, long, low, echoing like a horn across the river. It opened its wings wide, and the ground beneath her trembled. Beezy closed her eyes. Wind whipped around her, lifting dust and leaves in spirals. Then, suddenly, the wind stopped. Beezy opened her eyes slowly. The eagle had not attacked. Instead, it stood motionless, its gaze fixed beyond her shoulder. She turned. Anita's body, wrapped in the white burial cloth, lay on the mat near the riverbank. The wind had loosened part of the fabric, revealing her hand. Something glittered in her palm, a small piece of gold chain, no larger than a finger's length. Beezy gasped. "How?" The eagle gave a low rumble, almost like a growl. Beezy understood. "You want me to finish it, to end what's left." Tears streamed down her face as she bent, taking the piece of chain from Anita's hand. It burned her skin, but she didn't let go. She turned back to the eagle. "I forgive her completely, and I forgive myself too." The eagle's eyes narrowed. "I kept hatred in my heart," Beezy continued, crying harder. "But I let it go now. I let it all go." Thunder cracked above them, even though the sky was clear. The wind rose once more, circling her. The chain in her hand melted, turning into bright light that lifted from her palm and vanished into the air. The eagle gave one final cry, not of anger, but release. Then it spread its massive wings and rose, slow and steady, into the sky. The villagers watched from a distance, whispering in awe. The bird climbed higher, circling the river 3 times before disappearing into clouds. Beezy fell to her knees, sobbing. The earth beneath her felt alive, pulsing with warmth. The rain began again, soft this time, cleansing, merciful. By morning, the story had spread beyond the river. People said a giant eagle had come to carry away a curse. Some said they saw a flash of gold in the clouds. Others claimed they heard 2 voices, one crying, one singing, blending together before fading into the wind. Beezy stayed by the river 3 days. She refused food or shelter, praying, whispering Anita's name, asking for peace. On the 3rd dawn, she saw it, a small feather floating down from the sky. She caught it in her hands, smiling through her tears. "Go well, my sister," she whispered. "We are free." She walked away from the river barefoot, leaving the feather on the wet sand. And as the first rays of sun touched the water, the feather shimmered briefly, then vanished, leaving only ripples spreading outward like the echo of wings. The morning sun rose slowly, spilling gold over the river like melted light. The mist was thick, drifting gently above the water, soft as breath. The villagers had gone back to their lives, but the memory of the 2 women by the river still lingered like a scent that would not fade. Beezy stood alone on the riverbank, her wrapper tied tightly around her chest, her feet bare in the wet sand. Her face looked thinner, calmer, touched by something deeper than grief, something like surrender. For days, she had remained in the small hut beside the water, watching the river flow, listening to the whispers in the wind. Sometimes she thought she heard Anita's voice, faint, soft, like the echo of laughter from far away. That morning, she closed her eyes and whispered, "It's time." She carried a small calabash in her hands. Inside it were 2 feathers, one from an ordinary fowl, one pure white from the sky. The priest from Diobu had told her to return both to the river, one for the body, one for the spirit. She knelt by the water's edge, her voice trembling as she spoke. To the spirits of the wind and the sky, to the river that keeps secrets and the earth that bears witness, I return what was borrowed. She has gone, but her truth stays. Let peace return to this ground. She placed the calabash gently on the water. It floated for a few moments, then turned slowly and began to drift downstream. Beezy watched until it vanished beyond the bend. Her tears fell quietly, mixing with the river. When she rose, the wind blew softly, warm this time, gentle against her skin. The trees rustled, and for the first time in months, she smiled. Not the forced smile of survival, but a real one, the smile of someone forgiven by both heaven and earth. Weeks later, Beezy returned to Lagos. The compound felt emptier, the air quieter. The neighbors watched her curiously as she unpacked. Rumors had traveled faster than truth. Some said she had gone mad. Others said she had joined a spiritual sect. But Beezy said nothing. She simply swept her room, washed the walls, and lit a small candle in one corner. On the wall, she hung a framed piece of paper, Anita's last note, written before their final journey. The words were faint but clear. "If I die, let my death become a lesson that silence can kill more than sin, and forgiveness heals more than prayer." Every morning, Beezy read it aloud. She stopped wearing jewelry. She stopped gossiping. She lived simply, selling handmade beads in the local market, speaking softly, helping strangers. People said something about her had changed. Her eyes carried peace, and her voice carried weight. Sometimes, late at night, when thunder rolled softly across the city, she would look up and smile. "Fly well, Anita," she would whisper. "The sky remembers you kindly now." In Ibadan, old Baba Ajayi, the herbalist who had once foretold the eagle's flight, sat in front of his fire again. A young apprentice beside him asked, "Baba, what truly happened between those women?" The old man stirred the pot slowly, eyes fixed on the flames. "What happens between hearts happens between worlds," he said. "One friend betrayed love, the other betrayed mercy. The sky took one, the river cleansed both. That's balance." The boy frowned. "So the eagle, was it real?" Baba Jai smiled faintly. "All spirits are real when guilt is strong enough. The eagle was not just a bird. It was a voice of truth. And when truth descends, no lie survives." He threw a handful of herbs into the fire. The flames crackled, rising higher for a moment before calming again. "Remember," he said softly, "the eagle does not hunt for food. It hunts for order." A year later, Beezy built a small wooden bench beside the river where Anita had died. She visited every month, bringing flowers, yellow hibiscus, Anita's favorite. She never stayed long. She would sit quietly, talk to the water, and leave. One afternoon, as she prepared to go, a young girl fetching firewood stopped nearby. She pointed to the sky. "Ani, look." Beezy turned. Far above, cutting through the golden sunset, an eagle glided across the sky. Slow, graceful, almost peaceful. It circled once over the river, then tilted its wings and vanished beyond the hills. Beezy smiled, tears filling her eyes. "You kept your promise," she whispered. "You came back one last time." The wind brushed her face like a blessing. She stood up, dusted her wrapper, and began walking home. Each step felt lighter, freer. The sun dipped behind the clouds, painting the sky in shades of gold and orange, like forgiveness itself. And as the first evening star appeared, the river flowed on quietly, carrying away the last of the sorrow, carrying forward only the story. Moral of the story: true friendship is not tested by laughter, but by truth. Betrayal may anger the sky, but forgiveness opens heaven again. When the heart speaks truth, even the eagle bows.